What is up, everybody? So we're going to go over a few trades, but these aren't just a few trades. We're going to go over the last two trades right here. The $100 win and the $1,800 win. And this is not just any ordinary trading session. This is the Apteros March 2023 Intensive. So those of you who've watched my video where I did a bunch of course reviews, I talked about Apteros NADRO course in that. This is my third intensive now. So what Merritt does is he does a week-long live stream where he trades the actual session, and you can ask him questions, and then he does a review at the end of the day. So he trades, then he has, usually the first part of the morning, then around noon, you do a Q&A, and then at the end of the day, he does a review of everything. So they gave me this for free. I need to let you guys know that. Ryan, who's actually Merritt's business partner, has been a longtime subscriber of mine well before I bought the NADRO course. And there was one point where they sent out an email after I did NADRO that said, refer a friend, get some credits. And I'm like, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Can I just get a link and a coupon code? So found out he was a subscriber of mine, and, he wanted to talk on the phone. So him and I have bullshitted a few times. And he really likes my content. And also he likes the quality of customer that is coming off of this channel and buying in the NADRO course, because I know quite a few of those have sold through this channel. So, they want to work with me. So I got this intensive for free. Therefore, I'm going to review it. But what's great is I have free range. So I'm not going to just bullshit through this saying, yeah, you should do it. Sign up for it. Guys, just want to let you know that you no longer have to use a coupon code to get a discount on the NADRO trading system. In fact, Ryan from Apteros was kind enough to make a landing page just for me and for you guys. So you just come here, no coupon codes. You can get a discount on NADRO where you save $445. But not only can you buy NADRO at a discount through this landing page, you can also buy the intensives. They don't sell the intensives on their normal page. Now, before I show you guys what's going on here, I just want to let you know that Apteros has chosen to work with just me. I'm their only partner as of now. I'm their only affiliate guy. They've turned down a bunch of people. They've turned down other YouTubers. So they're not trying to just sell this to anybody. They want to work exclusively with me and my community because, well, after all, I think you guys are a different caliber of trader if you're consuming my fucking videos. Let's be honest with ourselves. So here what we have is the normal NADRO right in the center. It's normally, it's $25.50 right here. If you go to the actual official Apteros page, is $29.95, so that's a $445 savings. Or you can buy the NADRO with 5 intensives. Again, they don't sell the intensives on their normal page. Or you can go ahead and get the last 2 intensives for $9.90 as well. So again, this is just something they're doing with me. And again, they're not, if they were trying to sell this stuff to anybody, they would be working with anybody. So I think it's pretty cool that they want to work with me and my community. Just wanted to let you guys know what's going on. And this link will be in the description below. I'm reviewing it from my perspective, how I feel about it, what I'm thinking as I'm going through it. My trading is very much not NADRO style. It is very much my own style. There is essence of what Merritt has taught a long time ago in my trading. So I missed the Monday session because they kind of gave it to me last minute on Monday and I didn't check my email. So I'm only going to be doing videos on Tuesday through Friday. So this is sort of like a diary almost. And what I elected to do was sort of trade around Merritts levels and kind of trade with him in a sense, but not blindly. I have to take setups that are very much my own setups. And I got to say, this first day was interesting. This first day is interesting because, well, I'm going to kind of recall and tell you where Merritt was trading, where I was trading, my thinking. And it was very interesting to see how we were really thinking on the lines of hitting in almost the exact same spots in a lot of ways, even though my system is a bit different. A lot bit different, I should say. So, but we're both leveraging auction market theory. I don't know if this coincidental thing is going to continue to happen throughout the week, but I thought it was interesting the first day. So let's kind of, we're gonna look at the two trades at the end, but I want to kind of walk through the trades as they were happening. Obviously, I was fighting up and down, kind of floating around break even. I believe it was like 1,400 at the end of it all. And then I was kind of tapped out mentally at this point, like, because I was working for this trade. I really had to work for that specific trade, and obviously it took a lot of work to finally get it. So we're going to go ahead and look at those last two trades in the actual footage. But first, we're going to kind of walk through these other trades on a chart. I'm going to show you his levels, my thinking behind my plan, and that's how I want to do these. All right, so this was sort of his plan for the morning, was to trade a short off this 07 even and run it to 84s. That was his hypo 1. Obviously, if it didn't work, he was looking for a bounce there. And the way this panned out was actually really interesting. I took a trade later in the day, not pictured in that P&L. But we'll kind of talk about that a bit later. But how it kind of rotated one of his areas. So anyways, that is his plan right there. So here's my charts. Here's his 07 right here, which was his hypo 1. He's looking for a pullback and a bounce off that, which it fucking did. But I think it did it for other reasons. It just happened to ironically line up with what I was looking at. And then here is where his ultimate target was, which it really did hit and rotate, interestingly enough. So let's kind of look at the session as it opened up. So I was very short biased. This is a composite over here, but this is a 3-year composite that I've been using for many fucking years. Well before NADRO, I've been using this 3-year composite for fucking ever. So the way I saw the price action and my personal narrative the prior day on Monday night is if we're coming up in this low node pocket, for me, there's a high probability of a move down. Okay. Merritt is obviously looking at something completely different. This is the bottom of a value zone of a curve on a market profile. I don't use market profiles, but that is what he's looking at, which I will show you that picture again. So as you can see right there, that is 07, and he's getting his level off of something completely different. Again, these value zones right here using market profile. And again, the 07 and this 84 right here, these are marked by the pink lines on my chart. So for me, there's a low node pocket there. But how do we open up and how do we sort of play around it is another huge contextual piece for my specific trading. So, and also I have delta up. You guys obviously know I have a video on cumulative delta, which I pissed a lot of people off with that one because I think it's a piece of shit indicator. But I've stated in that fucking video that that's my fucking opinion. and that people do make money with it. So I don't know why that pissed people off. You guys do come to this channel to hear my fucking opinions after all, right? And as traders, we're going to obviously be opinionated to what works and what doesn't. But I am very much open-minded, and I know that there's like a million fucking ways to fucking do this job. So I elected to use the delta because Merritt, that's how he is reading order flow in a lot of ways. That the delta is a massive component to his system. And I've been through enough intensives now that he's really good at it. There's obviously something he's seeing in it. And I can tell. There's this like connection to it. Kind of like me and a fucking Dom, right? There's this, I just have a feel for the Dom in the tape. He has a feel with this fucking delta in a lot of ways. So I'm like, you know what? I will look at it again. I've looked at it for years, but is there, as he's narrating through the session, can I potentially see what he's seeing in it and it make sense? And this is why I like these intensives. I really do like watching other guys live trade, because there's nothing like seeing somebody do it on the hard right edge. What is their thinking? What is the process? That's why a lot of, that's why I think this channel has done well. I mean, it's a smaller channel, but you guys like to see the trades on the hard right edge in the moment, because ultimately that's where you trade from. Although we're going to do a little sort of charting shit, but like, that's what's interesting. And as you gain more experience, because I'm on my 7th year of doing this at this point, you'll see as we go through this. You'll see. So it's just really cool to have another trader is good at this to confirm like what you're thinking. It's like a super signal almost. And that's what I really got from this specific session. So here's the open. We're going to zoom in quite a bit. This is a 30-second chart. The open is right here. I'm going to move this profile out of the way. I don't want to like delete it. So the market is basically opening up, and Merritt basically gets a short right off the bat. I wanted the short there, but by the time I was like ready to go, and start hitting buttons, it happened too quickly. So he snagged a short somewhere up here. Actually, I can pull up his entries and exits. Give me a second. All right, here's Merritt's entries and exits. So I had to zoom in a lot. So that's the short. He scaled some out, and then I believe he took a stop there. I know they're watching this. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm trying to recall what happened here. And then I remember him, 07 was obviously one of the more major levels, which he was getting in, but he ended up, getting out of it relatively early, if I'm not mistaken, on that one, because it did get a little goofy in this section, which we're going to look at it in my charts as we kind of go through it. But I'm just sort of timelining. And then he took some really fucking stupid trades. I believe in this section he was taking somewhere around here. He was, I believe, taking longs or some bullshit. And he knows what he did was stupid. He even said what he did was dumb. He should have never done it, but he did do it. He choked. I'll give him that. Streaming and trading at the same time is Oh, yeah, that's right. He was getting long here, and then he got whacked. And then, because it's a 3-minute chart, mine's is going to have more noise because mine's is a 30-second. This is a 3. Then I remember him trading in this section, but I had, like, checked out at that point. So what happened in here, I don't really know, per se. I believe he was down, but he did take some trade at the end of the day where it was a long. I don't really recall how he did on the day, but he knows he should have never done these, and I'll explain why I think they weren't a good idea. And he cut these shorts way too early at 7. But this isn't to discount the man by any means, because he knows what he's talking about. Because we really were on the same page in a lot of ways during this session. He just happened to make he made a mistake. So let's look at my version of it and why. So here's the open. Again, I believe he was getting short somewhere in this section, and he was scaling out pretty aggressively on this thing. I wanted to get in there. I'm not exactly sure if he got in slightly earlier or if he got in up here, but it happened very quickly, right at the open almost. Which I would have loved to have taken a short up in this section to trade this curve here. Again, this low note is such a big deal for me. Then it starts going all over the place. Now, I believe I fight in certain areas in here. I can't really recall. I know a lot of the fighting was up on that 7. He was more conservative. I was willing to be more aggressive. So let's kind of pull this profile to the open. Because this is kind of how I backtest shit too. What I like is this profile is sort of meshing with this profile. And this price action to me is really solid. I like that really swoopy, rangy shit. So we obviously kind of bang into this low node area, and we're going up. And I remember I may have fought right here near the 1 at one point. I may have gotten it, and that's where the $450 win was. Actually, it was. It was in one of these sections. Again, I don't have the timestamp readily available. But I remember as it came up to here, it's like, okay, this is one of Merritt's levels. He was talking about it, and what was interesting is it almost seemed like he was just waiting to see what it would do, because according to him, the delta was sort of not. And again, I'm trying to recall a lot of this, so some of this might be not super accurate. But I remember he wasn't really digging the delta. There was a lot of buying pressure, and he was talking about the buying pressure, especially as it was coming through this section. So he didn't just hit the level to hit the level. He was actually waiting for it to kind of maneuver up there, and so was I. So that's what I liked, was we were kind of on that same wavelength. And I know some of his students had got short up there. He had as well, but when it kind of came down, he was more aggressive about scaling this fucking thing. Actually, he may have got out right here, if I'm not mistaken, on this little flush or somewhere in this section, because it did pull back up. So while he did wait for the shimmy, he did sort of not hold on to it. He really let it go. I actually probably need to pull up that image again. This is as zoomed as I can get, but yeah, you can see on that first little test, he got short, and then he pulled him for little losses right there. So yeah, he was kind of getting out right there. For me, a lot of the aggression in my P&L was fighting this thing. I was fighting my ass off for this, because this trade had, for my system, had tremendous risk to reward on it. Like, the reward factor of it was fucking huge. For me, I really saw it I mean, that's a real big stretch, but hitting these 70s or at least this 78 right here. So, I mean, that's a very fat fucking trade. That paper cutting my way into that section was worth it. I was only doing it on 4 lots. No 8s, although that was, in my opinion, an 8 lot worthy trade. So, you know, I fought very aggressively to get into it. Again, which you could see in the P&L earlier in the video. Got it. And then Merritts started getting long down here because it was rotating VWAP. My VWAP's not going to be like his. His VWAP might be, let's actually take a look again. Well, this is actually interesting. It's not plotted on this specific chart. But it would be right in the middle of this shaded area because that's a first deviation band. So roughly where those green arrows are is where he was getting long. So it kind of spooked me out of my position, which would have been this one that ran an 8 ticks in my favor. Had I held that position, it would have been good. But he started getting long. I'm like, oh shit. But when I started to look at his entry, I'm like, I don't think that's a good trade. The reason I don't think that was a good trade, and it's going to be right in this section. So roughly where my VWAP is, again, mine's is plotted a little differently. Mine's is anchored. His might be, I believe his is RTH. If not, it might include ETH, or he uses both. I don't remember precisely. But I plot mine slightly different. I'm anchoring my VWAP at this low right here, not the middle of the session. So what's happening is, like, he's getting long on a point of control, which I don't like doing that. I don't like trading off of a high node like that. Especially when I have matching profiles. Like the one on the left is sort of meshing with the 3-year. I don't really like that. While it did bounce, for me, it had gone up so high. It had gone into this major low node pocket in this section. And to be fair, this was an area Merritt was looking at, and he was sort of trading against it, which, again, he knows what he did. He should never done. So I don't want you guys to, like, because I do stupid shit too. We all do stupid shit. And when you're streaming and talking and you got people watching, it definitely puts pressure on you, right? It's like when you're trying to take a piss in a public bathroom and you got some guy fucking standing right next to you staring at you. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to piss in that scenario. So I get that. And you know, he should never done that. I don't remember what his reason specifically was why he shouldn't have done this. But when I saw that, I'm like, ugh. You know, and again, he was talking about some of his NADRO students. He's like, you know, you could stay short at 7, whatever. He was obviously very aggressive in the way he was getting in and out of trades. Which, to be honest with you, the way these market conditions are, getting into a trade and just getting a clean fucking run to target isn't that easy. A lot of entries get overly tested in this environment that we've been experiencing for a while. So I kind of understand where the aggression was. It was almost, when he was trading, he was trading relatively tight. Now, he did talk about how his stops are dynamic, which my stops are starting to become a little more dynamic. Not quite like his. His stops are more fluid. But I do move around, you know, sometimes I'm willing to risk a full 12 tick stop. During FOMC, I'm bumping it up to 24 and I'm trading less size. And in other environments, I have to paper cut my way into the trade where I can't really let it go against me, but it's all contextual. So that's when I originally went through NADRO. That was one of the biggest things for me was really I'm gonna pull this up, but really how do you do stops? Because for many years my stops were fucking fixed. And just learning how to dynamically move stops around, in my opinion, is just as much of a skill set as learning when to fucking get out of trades. It's just a whole nother skill set. And it takes time to learn how to be dynamic and fluid with your stop. And that to me was always one of the biggest mysteries in trading, is you just never really hear about how traders specifically are managing the back end of the trade. You always hear about the targets. And it's interesting to see how he's doing it, how it's dynamically shifting. And he does talk about it in the NADRO course as well. So for me, it was very interesting to see him being kind of aggressive, almost like trading like me in some ways. He's taking on more risks than I would in certain sections, but he's looking at this. His narrative is different. His context is different. The way he's approaching it is different, but we're both looking at it from an AMT, auction market theory perspective. And we're both kind of, at least on this specific day, sort of looking at the same areas. In fact, what also was interesting, now that I recall, because I was talking on the mic, leaving in verbal cues during my recorded session, Merritt's doing this, Merritt's doing that. Now that I actually remember, when I got short in here, he actually wanted to get short as well. He said, I really had a strong feeling in my gut to take the short, but I didn't. So I executed it, but he wanted to, and I thought that was very interesting to have wanted to take it there, and him taking the trade where he did on the open, which I wanted as well, and then him getting in right here. The only place I don't agree is when he got in right there. But that's like 3 trade locations. I'm like, yes, yes, and yes. We'll see how that pans out for the rest of the week. But for me, like, knowing who he is and trusting him, it just really allowed me to really, I don't know, it just gave me this, like, really this extra layer of confirmation that was I don't experience. And that's why I think these intensives, as again, because I'm looking at this from a more experienced perspective, whereas most people that are going to be going through this are relatively new to this shit. This might be their first rodeo or whatever. You're just not able to see it through the eyes of experience. So as a more experienced trader sitting down, it's just a whole different perspective for me than what you guys would get if you go through it. So for me, it was very, very fucking fascinating. And that's where I could see the advantage of prop, to be honest with you, is if you're on a team with other guys that are trading just like you, or you guys are trading roughly the same setups, or you have other traders confirming the same area that you know and trust. It really is a super signal in a lot of ways. And as retail traders, we don't really get to experience that. So I enjoyed it, especially because when I deal with traders, I'm usually the most experienced one. Whereas it's nice to just have somebody who's above me confirming shit for me. Somebody that's got more experience than me, that's been doing it longer than me, that just performs better than I'm still developing. I'm by no means would I consider myself pro by any fucking means. So just those 3 trade locations were interesting. And when he fucked up, and I knew he fucked up, he knew he fucked up too. And I think that was also cool. It's not cool that he lost money. It's cool that's how we're just kind of on the same wavelength. Like, you should never done that. And he knew it. So just that was interesting as well. So it's not, I mean, it should never done it, but I do stupid shit as well. Now, I know he started getting in with the momentum down here. I got in, so he spooked me out of the one trade, which would have been a great entry. But I ended up getting back into it somewhere around here. Not sure exactly where. We're going to look at those trades. But then I fucking squeeze it through this section. And I believe I take most of it off. Well, I start scaling it, but then I take like all of it off down here. I don't remember exactly. We're going to look at the footage. But I remember him, when I was getting out, he started getting back in because he was talking about the momentum. Obviously, the delta had shifted drastically at that point, so maybe that helped him. But I had mentally checked out because you guys saw the P&L. There was quite a bit of fighting in a relatively short time, maybe about an hour, but still trading can be very fatiguing, especially at an hour mark when you're really working. I had to work because I knew what I wanted. I knew the trade I wanted. When I say the trade I wanted, I wasn't forcing it. It's more so I knew the trade that was potentially there that had a high probability, and I had to really continue to finesse until I got it just right. So for me, it just, for my system, my style, it just made sense it would do what it did. Now, what was interesting is I had taken a trade later in the day. He wasn't doing anything at this point. And we'll look at those 2 trades here in a moment. But let's expand this RTH profile out. So I actually started getting short up on this section right here. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, I was getting short up in this low noted section. And then I picked up a pretty fat trade. Most of it, I started scaling out, and then a lot of it came back, and then I knew it was going to run through me, so I took it off for like 3 or 4 points on the remainder of the size. But what was interesting is somebody who doesn't like Delta was this. I just want to point this out. And this is by no means Merritts material. This isn't something Merritt was doing because he, as far as I recall, he wasn't recording at this point. But notice how the price is going down and the delta is going up. But the fashion that this price is going down, see how it's really bumpy and choppy and it's grinding its way down? That was a real bad struggle to get down. Also, the volatility for this specific day was pretty atrocious. And on days like this, you need to be, in my opinion, you need to be hitting intraday swings. You shouldn't be scalping at all. It's too dangerous. You need to be making sure you're hitting some sort of swing that has really high potential reward on it, because getting a clean entry in this environment really is almost impossible at times. That in order to get a run to work, you're going to have to let it breathe so much. And if I'm risking, 12 ticks, this thing better have a lot of potential on it. So this was the way this was bumping and grinding on its way down. That stinks like stops if it can go through there again. But also, the fucking delta was going straight up. So what we know the delta is, it's buy market orders minus sell market orders, and it's the cumulative sum or whatever the fuck. I know what it is. I may have said it wrong. But either way, this is displaying more net buying while the price is dumping. So this is telling me sellers are absorbing it. But also what was interesting on the offer was there was these large offers that started coming in up in these sections. And you could see these unusually large offers just kind of pressing the market down on the DOM. And also there was a lot of puke points where there was bigger sellers kind of sweeping the market down, but you weren't really seeing it back up on the upside. And that phenomenon was happening yesterday as well. So in my opinion, over the course of 2 trading days, there's been some unusual selling activity. Now, I do think the market might go up tomorrow, to be honest with you, where it's trading. But this gets to his 84. His thesis was completely correct. Get short up there and basically write it down. The execution, the finesse, easier said than done. There was a trade yesterday where my thesis was right and I just couldn't fucking get into it. It was a really solid long worth 30-something points or something of that nature, and I just couldn't get into it. So he had the right idea. And some of his students, I don't know if they held it all the way through. But I know there was guys for sure getting short up there in the 7s and still holding it even when he was flipping the position. But again, I think this is interesting because of the press. So clearly there's a shitload of buying. And the sellers are just absorbing the fucking piss out of it and just tanking, just bringing the market down, right? Just with like the offers almost. It's like almost like the selling tape is shit or the bids are shit or both of those are shit. Really, the selling tape is shit if this is going up. So the selling tape is a bit weak and the bids certainly aren't taking as much size to move down versus them trying to get it up. And the way this is just compounding, grinding down, I don't look at delta, but I just know from that price action, because I look at a shitload of price action, that looks like a potential stop. And then they obviously puke it here, and then the market starts to, the delta just starts taking off like nobody's fucking business. Now, is it reloading and shit? I mean, yes, but the fact that it rotated there, I was looking to hold it slightly longer to 78, and then I was going to take it all off. Didn't happen. Most of it came back. Well, I mean, I scaled half into this move, but I had to take the other half closer to my entry because I knew they were going to blow me out or attempt to run me or check me. So it's kind of a term I'm using is like, because in this market, you think you got a good run, but then they check your entry and then the real run sets up. So there's a lot of checking your entry, even though you're on a good run. That's why scaling's so important. And they may finesse and fuck around with where you got in and then finally hit the real move, which they didn't do. They obviously blew it out, which Merritt did get long end of day, but it wasn't during the recording. He kind of displayed it in the chat that he had been fucking with it, because you got to understand this is this level right here at 84.50 was also another hypothesis, which I will pull up. Okay, so here you can see the what we originally looked at from earlier in the session where he was messing around. And that's where I had checked out where he started catching momentum, and it seemed like he was really campaigning that area a lot. Campaigning is like adding two winners and scaling out of winners, and it's like you're kind of moving a bunch of size around in a different area. So you're adding in this stuff and taking off, and it's like you're cash flowing the trade. I think that's hard for a retail trader to do unless you're fucking with micros. But there was a lot of arrows in that section. But putting that to the side, again, Apteros people, Ryan, I'm speculating here. So, and the viewers, you guys know this as well. But I believe, from what I recall, he does campaign a lot. Not always, because a lot of the initial trades were very cut clean almost, it seemed. Whereas that area, he seemed to have been floating around quite a bit of trades in there. So, interesting skill set. I would love to eventually learn how to do that. But you can see he's getting long up in that section and he's scaling out. I don't know if that necessarily fixed the day's issue, as far as I recall. But again, that 84 he's got marked here, you can see. And then he's getting it on a pullback kind of near this first deviation band of VWAP. Again, it's not plotting the actual VWAP. I think he's got it on another screen. So, very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting session. So let's look at my trades. All right, so we're going to watch this in 2x speed. This might actually be more than the last two trades because it's up in that 7 section. So I'll kind of just talk through my trades. And let me actually listen to the audio because I can hear what I call out what Merritt's doing. Getting 2x speed. Kind of just watch the whole thing just pan out. So we go for the short at the 5.25. This to me is an okay attempt. I'm sort of going against this range, but this for me, somewhere up here, is going to be the best area. Like up in this chunk of low nodes, is the best area possible. And while the micro environment isn't ideal, there's just a point where I gotta go for it. Now, I think I was willing to risk a stop up in this section, but then I, for whatever reason, didn't. I cut it too early. You can see that it's... I say this is the re-entry Merritt. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so I'm saying there could be rotation here. So from the way it looks to me, there absolutely might be a rotation here. Why could there potentially be a rotation here? Because it's this curve, it's sort of hitting the first deviation. This band is not accurate, but the first deviation of this curve is roughly in this area. So that's why I'm saying there could be a rotation there. Obviously, we're pulling the target because it's automated. And this is where I don't, if I recall right, Merritt, adjusting the stop, obviously. Is that where I'm going to let it go to? No, I'm going to be tight on this trade. So that's just kind of just to throw something down. But I'm going to manually manage that. So, I'm obviously, it's not looking super hot. Actually, I really should have held that and put a stop on it and let it run 12. Oh, that's exactly why I pulled that one. So I just now announced I got out because Merritt's going long. So that's when I got spooked. So I think I was willing to hold it, but he just tripped me out on that one. And again, that's when he took the subpar longs. So we're just kind of, and if you guys haven't seen the bankroll video, check out the bankroll video. I talk about how I use P&L to manage, so I do look at it. So I go, you spooked me out, Merritt. And then I say you spooked me out again. I talk in the coaching series. I talk to Slim about recording your voice on a trading session, and that's what I do. We're attempting to re-engage it. Kind of waiting a little bit. I wanted to get a little bit higher. Not the most ideal entry. And I believe this is the final entry. And just complete patience on it. See, this is where you just kind of sometimes have to let it. I know that's not the best entry, so I know it's going to fucking pull on me a bit. But like trying to estimate that how long is it going to go sideways there is kind of impossible. It's like, this is... See, that's where I would have really loved to have taken this section being a low noted section. And now that the way it puked up, that gave me confidence. I like it when it moves really hard because there's a high chance it could reclaim like that. Do I want it to do that? No, I'd rather it just work, but that shit doesn't freak me out. And a stop is a stop. Who gives a fuck? And then somebody came in and swept it with a bunch of block orders, which was nice. Adjusting the stop. It doesn't mean that's where the stop's going to be. We're taking half off. It's only a 4-lot trade. Okay, so I want to talk about that. So they're not filling it. So since it's not getting filled, I'm going to pull it because if it either comes back or if it comes back to that price, there's a good chance it'll actually go through it. So if I don't get a fill on a target like that, I'm going to pull it because there's a good chance they're going to drive it lower and I can get a little more. Otherwise, they're going to just jam it all the way back. See, as you can see, they're pressing it further. So I get a couple extra ticks off that. Again, they do the same thing almost where they're just not giving it up. See how I pull it? Now I'm kind of like, oh shit, they may rotate this. Adjust. Now that's about a 12 tick stop. That's what I ideally am willing to risk on this. I don't know if that's exactly 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfectly. Like, I've looked at so many 12 tick stops, I can kind of just put it right in the right spot. So that's fine with me. That hard rush is okay because a lot of times that gets taken back. But I'm not going to risk more than that. That's not me moving a stop to move a stop. Because what I did was hit the cancel button and it took the target out. And when I do that, it erases the stop. So I just go slap one in real quick. Hard shove again. Now we know we can get... Probably could have actually milked it to 99.25, 99.50. It is what it is. Just, I believe I'm looking for a bottom tick, a low of day, if I'm not mistaken. I may have pulled it. Right there. 94s. Look, again, looking for this to puke, this lower pivot. So, there you go, guys. That was... the first session. He started getting short there on the momentum. I'm not sure how that all played out because I kind of checked out because I had worked my ass off for that specific trade. And, you know, being an hour in, I needed to just kind of take a moment. So I really think even though I don't think Merritt made money, I believe he was down. I still found it very beneficial in a lot of ways for the reasons I explain. Us looking at the same areas, us both knowing what he did was wrong. And also kind of learning that delta from his perspective, I think is very fascinating. I think there can be a lot of takeaways from that because I don't really use like indicators. I've been experimenting with all sorts of shit like tick, 80D and open interest, and I've used all sorts of shit. I've just not found an indicator that really jives with me. And it's, you know what? Listening to him and the way he uses it, he really knows. He's really got his finger on the pulse of the delta, which I'm open to learning about it. So, because I could see it being beneficial in some way. And then I can redo a video and not piss a bunch of people off. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy that and look forward to the other videos in this series.